We are continuing with free response 4, and we're looking at question 1, part D. So we're told to assume that the real interest rate in the Eurozone increases relative to the real interest rate of the U.S. Draw a correctly labeled graph of the foreign exchange market for the euro and show the impact of the change in the real interest rate in the Eurozone on each of the following. The demand for a euro and the value of the euro relative to the U.S. dollar. Okay, once again, I'm going to jump back over to our handout just to show you that this graph that we're going to draw is in here. It's right at the bottom. It's right here. Okay, so this isn't the exact one we're going to draw because this is yens. This is yen per dollar. We're going to actually draw. Now think about this. Whatever you see, let me just jump back over here. Whatever you see in the quantity, if it's quantity of a euro, it's going to be, and we're looking at the euro relative to the dollar. Now it's dollar per euro. How many dollars does it take to buy 1 euro? So that's what we're looking at. So for example, on the one in your handout, this is, whoops, not that. This is yen per dollar because the quantity down here is in dollars. So whatever the quantity is here, that's going to be in the denominator up here. So it's how many yen per dollar. So when the value of the dollar goes up in this graph relative to the yen, it's going to take more yen to buy $1. So the denominator gets larger, and that's why this is moving up. So if we apply that to our graph over here, when we're looking at the quantity of euro down here, right? And so on the vertical axis, we want to have dollars, you could say, how many dollars per euro. So when the value of the euro goes up relative to the dollar, that just means it's going to take more dollars to buy 1 euro. Okay, so the value of the euro, so whatever your quantity is here, we're actually measuring its value here. So when the real interest rates are higher, now this is a different type of investment. This is a financial investment. So when the interest rates go up for a financial investment, let's see, it says right here, in the I'm not sure it actually says a financial investment, but that's what it is. It talks about the foreign exchange market. So we're thinking in terms of financial investors who want to lend money, right? Now they're lending money, and they want a high interest rate, and they want a high return on their investment. So when the return is higher in the Eurozone, that's going to incentivize folks to take their money and invest in the Eurozone. Actually, the term financial investments is in the answer that I'm reading over here. So, and just thinking about that, because financial investors are going to take their dollars, buy euros, and invest in the Eurozone because the real interest rate for financial investments are higher. So the demand for the euro is going to shift to the right. Because the higher real interest rate in the Eurozone pays a higher return on financial investment, and that's why we draw we show this shift to the right of the demand for a euro, and that's going to push the relative value of the euro relative to the dollar up. Okay, so that is how we answer part D 1 and 2. Now, the last part of this is a little bit tricky, and you really and you don't have a graph, and you don't have to draw one, but I'm going to show you one that helps, that hopefully will help you understand this a little bit better. But we're talking about the current account balance now. Now, when we think about current account balance as being a zero, what we're really thinking about, or how I think you would it would be helpful to think about this in terms of net exports. So if the current account balance is a zero, it means, let me get this out of the way. It means that for now anyway, it means that net exports are zero, and you can also think of that in terms of when we're looking at just the U.S. and the Eurozone, our exports equal our imports in value. That's the situation when we have a zero account balance. Now, the question is, let's go back to it. Based on the change in the value of the euro, and the euro identified in part D2, will the U.S. current account balance now be in a surplus, a deficit, or remain zero? And this does not ask you to explain, but I'm going to explain it anyway, because I don't want you just to memorize some answer. I want you to understand why this would be what it is, okay? So the graph that I have here is a graph that you don't have in your book, I don't think, but it shows the real exchange rate on the vertical axis and the quantity of net exports on the horizontal axis. And this is savings minus investment here. Okay, so so I'm showing you, this is the U.S. economy. Okay, so one of the things that makes a macro a little bit harder, I think, is because it all depends on your perspective, right? So if the value of the euro relative to the dollar is going up, then if we come back and look from the perspective of the U.S. economy, the value of the dollar relative to the, let me just do this, make it easier, relative to the euro is actually going down. Let's see, boom, like that, right? Oops, wrong way. Let's see, flip, up, down. Okay, so we actually have this going on, because this is showing dollars here. Okay, so how many euros does it take to buy dollars? Well, it's less, because of what's happening with dollars to euro up here. You know, obviously, if one is true, the other has to be. If the euro is gaining a value relative to the dollar, then the dollar has to be losing a value relative to the euro. And why that is because we said earlier that, and actually this should be flipped. Let me think here. Net exports is going to be going up, right? Okay. Why? Because in this case right here, because there's more investment, financial investment, going overseas, that we talked about that up here, right? But the demand for a euro is shifting to the right, so we've got more investment going overseas. So domestically, this part of this expression, we have less investment in the U.S. So this expression right here actually gets larger, because this is savings minus investment. So when you have less to subtract out, then this expression gets larger. So you see this shift to the right, which in this graph shows you that when this savings minus investment shifts to the right because there's less domestic investment because there's more money going overseas, then we see this is why the relative value of the dollar goes down and net exports actually go up. Now, another way you can think about that, this is if our dollars are cheaper, then we're going to sell more to the world, because if our dollars are cheaper, then that means our goods that the world has to buy with dollars are cheaper. So it's going to mean our exports go up, so our net exports go up, which causes our overall output to go up. And the question is actually asking about our account balance as well. The account balance is really based on what our exports and our imports. So if our exports go up, then we're going to be in, and we started at 0, it means that we're now in a surplus. So the answer would be that our current account balance will be in surplus. That's how you answer E. But I just wanted to show you more about why that is. Okay? And that takes care of question 1. And when we come back on the next video, we'll look at question number 2. Okay.